Welcome to this video. I'm Ingo from Roast Rebels, and today we compare the BEHMOR 2020SR Plus with the Gene Café CBR-101 coffee roaster. A lot of you asked me about the differences between those two roasters and my recommendations for one of those two. And I think this question is quite obvious because they have a lot of things in common and they're in the same league. So they are quite comparable, and both of them are roasters that I can really recommend to home roasters. I think they have a bit about the same target group, and that's why in the first part of this video I will go into detail what they have in common, where I see they're about the same, and then in the second part I will work out the differences and give you some more information so that you can take a decision for yourself which roasters might be the perfect one for you. For both roasters I made specific videos where I really go into details, and I will go much more into details for each machine in those videos, therefore have a look at them as well. You can also see how they are working. We made some test roasts so that you can really see them in operation, and you find those videos of course quite easily in our YouTube channel. As I said before, both of these machines are perfect for home coffee roasters. They're both about the same size. They're both quite light, so you can easily bring them to the table or to your kitchen, roast with it, and then also store them again in a cupboard or somewhere. Both of them are about the same price, so they're not super cheap, but still they're very affordable. BEHMOR is a little bit cheaper than Gene, but it's more or less in the same region. Both of them exist since quite a long time. BEHMOR just entered the European market now, but the machine itself exists since about 2007. Gene is also in the market since a very long time, so you find a lot of information in coffee boards, in Facebook groups and whatsoever. You can share roast profiles, you can share experiences on those roasters, which is really a nice thing about those roasters. Both are solidly constructed and easy to repair. You get spare parts for both machines since they existed, so you can always repair them and they will bring you joy for a lot of time. Before I'm talking about the differences of those roasters, I go a little bit into the technical details, but not too far. As I said, you find detailed videos for both roasters on our channel. But the Gene roaster is constructed that way that it has a glass drum that is removable. So you take it out, put the beans in, put the drum into the roaster. It's mostly roasted by convection because it has a hot air stream that is going through the roaster. The airflow is constant, so you cannot change the airflow, but you can change. So you see you have two buttons with these roasters. One is the time, and the other one is the temperature of the airflow. And the way this is working is that on the other side of the drum there is a temperature measurement point which measures the temperature of the air that is getting out of the roaster, and then you decide the target temperature, and the roaster then tries to reach the target temperature that you've set. So if the target temperature that you set is higher than the actual temperature, then the heating element is working on full load until it reaches that temperature. If the temperature is lower, then it stops until it's reached this temperature, and when it's at the target temperature, then it has sequentially an on-off sequence to keep this temperature that you've put in the roaster. And with the BEHMOR, it also has a large drum. It's a steel mesh that is also removable. You take it out, put in the beans, put it in, and then you roast. It has two heating elements that are spreading on the whole width of the drum. It's electrical heating elements that you can control in 5 steps. And it has a constant airflow. What you can change is the speed of the drum. And the way it's controlled is a bit more complex, but I will also go into that. So one big difference between those two roasters is the capacity. Gene can roast up to 250 grams of coffee, BEHMOR up to 450 grams of coffee, although when you're roasting 450 grams, then the roast is taking quite some time. So if you really like these Nordic style roasts, these filter roasts with clarity, acidity, that you roast usually very fast, then you shouldn't go to 450 gram. You should maybe stick to about 250 gram capacity as well. But if you're roasting a bit more classical espresso roasts, then you can really try to do the full load of the machine. Then another thing that is quite a big difference is the way you control the roaster. As I said before, with the Gene, this is those two knobs, one for the time and the other one for the target temperature. With the BEHMOR roaster, it's a bit more complex, and you also find a video here in our channel where I really go in detail in this control panel. Have a look at it. You have actually two ways you can control the roaster. One is automatic, so you can really press one button. You have 5 different roast profiles, so you choose one of those 5 roast profiles, and the roaster is doing all the work for you and working and roasting the coffee according to the profile that you set in. Just automatic roast, one button, and it roasts for you. And you also have the possibility for manual roasts. In manual roast, as I said before, you can control the heating element in 5 steps. You can control the drum speed in 2 steps, and the rest, like airflow, is constant for the roaster. It's a little bit tricky to figure out which button is for what when you do manual roast, but at the end it's also not too difficult, and then you have also the manual that you can take as a guideline. Both machines don't measure bean temperature, and that's why I said before it's really roasters for home coffee roasters. Because if you want to develop roast profiles for your drum roaster, or if you want to really develop your skill to become later a professional roaster, I really recommend you to take a roaster that is measuring bean temperature. With those two machines, it's just not working construction-wise, because you have a drum that you take out that is mobile. Therefore, they found other solutions to measure the temperature. In the case of the Gene roaster, it's the temperature of the air that is getting out of the drum. In BEHMOR, you have 2 thermocouples. One is measuring the temperature of the air that is leaving the roast chamber as well, and the other one is measuring the heat or the temperature of the roast chamber. So what you have to know is both of these are working, not as perfectly as bean temperature, but still they are working. But you just have to know when you're talking about roast profiles, when you want to share experiences, profiles with other roasters, then you have to stick within the group of people that have the same roaster. So if you compare roast profiles on the Gene, then talk to other people that have a Gene roaster. If you compare roast profiles for the BEHMOR, then talk to other people that have a BEHMOR as well. The way they're transferring heat is, here it's mostly convection. I mean, you have always also a part of conduction by the heat of the drum, by the heat of the other beans, but it's mostly convection through the airstream, airflow. And here it's a mixture of conduction, convection, also radiation. So there is not one better or worse than the other, just what you have to know: when you have a bit more conduction, you have a bit higher risk of scorching. When you have more convection, you have a bit higher risk of tipping. That is something you have to take care of when you roast with those two roasters. Although for both of them, they're roasting very evenly, and the risk of roasting mistakes isn't too bad for both machines. When you're working more with sensory points, then with the BEHMOR you hear the cracks much better than with the Gene. That's a bit a negative point about the Gene roaster, that you don't hear the cracks very well. With the BEHMOR you hear them very well. On the other hand, here you can see the beans perfectly with this big glass, and also the transparent cover here. You can see really the cover and the development of the beans very well. In BEHMOR you also have a window, you also have a lamp in the roaster, but it's just a bit more difficult to see the color of the beans when they're developing. And the third sensory point is the smell. The BEHMOR has an afterburner that is reducing the smoke. I have to say it's not really that you can smoke inside and you have no smell in your apartment. It still produces smoke and smell, but it really reduces the smoke quite good. If you use the BEHMOR with the afterburner below the vent in your kitchen, then you have most of the smoke actually then reduced. With the Gene you don't have smoke reduction, but as all the air and smoke is coming out of this part of the roaster here, you can actually put a hose here and then put it out of your window. This is a bit depending on how long this hose should be, so you have to really talk with other roasters about their experiences. In some cases you have to put a little vent on it as well. But yeah, if you're close to the window, you have the possibility to bring out the smoke with the Gene roaster. Both roasters, they don't need too much to take care of, but here Gene is even a bit simpler. So you have this part where you have a chaff collector, and then you can open it, take out the chaffs, and that's more or less what you have to do. I mean, if you're doing dark roast, then you have some oils in the roast drum and you have to clean it from time to time. But this is more or less what you have to do when it comes to maintenance of the roaster. With BEHMOR, you have to do a bit more maintenance. You especially have to take care how to handle the drum. You see it also in the other video. You can also see a description that is coming with the roaster. So take care of the drum, because if you handle it not perfectly, then it can get stuck. And the other thing is also you have to really take care to take all the chaffs out of the roaster. You have a chaff collector as well that you can empty, but from time to time you also have to hoover to take out all the chaffs, because this could also then burn at the heating elements here. Nevertheless, it's not too much maintenance work that you have to do, but just consider here it's really important to do it, and Gene is really a device that is not needing a lot of maintenance at all, actually. These are the most relevant differences I see between those two roasters. Of course, you can also then go much more into technical details, but the aspects that I was talking about are those that I think are most relevant in your roasting journey. When you roast with those two machines, are most relevant when you want to take a decision which machine is the better one for you. Both of these coffee roasters are really nice for home coffee roasting. They're light, they're mobile, they're affordable, they make really good quality coffee roasts. In detail, there are some differences between those two machines, and I hope this video was helpful for you to figure out what are the differences. If you want to know more about those two roasters in detail, then have a look at the other videos as well. You also find a lot of other videos about coffee roasting in our channel. Follow us, because we will post a lot of information about coffee roasting in the future. And if you want to know more about those roasters or roasting in general, then I also look forward to hearing from you. You'll find my contact on roasttravels.com.